All right, get ready, because today we're taking a deep dive into a world that's pretty fascinating and a little unsettling internet scams that target older adults.
That's irrelevant these days.
We're using an information tool from the National Initiative for the Care of the Elderly in Canada. They're up in Canada.
Okay.
And by the time we're done, you'll be able to spot these scams no problem and protect yourself or your loved ones.
Yeah, it's really unfortunately more relevant than ever, and it's important to understand like the why behind it
Yeah.
as much as the how of the scams.
Yeah. You know, when I was reading through this material, it really struck me that it's not just about seniors being less tech savvy,
Right.
although that can be a factor.
Yeah.
It seems like there's something a lot deeper going on.
Yeah, it's interesting how something as positive as trust,
Right.
which is so essential for building strong relationships and connections, can be weaponized.
Right.
And scammers prey on this inherent goodness in people, exploiting the fact that many seniors grew up in a time when a handshake was a bond, and a person's word was their guarantee.
Well, it makes me think about how technology has kind of changed our interactions.
Right.
We're often warned not to trust strangers online,
Sure.
but for a lot of seniors, that online world is still relatively new.
Exactly. And because these scams often go unreported, it creates this dangerous cycle.
It's kind of like those phishing emails that we all get,
Right.
which are annoying, but we usually recognize them and move on.
Sure.
But imagine if those emails were never reported.
Mm-hmm.
Scammers would just run rampant, thinking their tactics are working.
Precisely. The underreporting makes these crimes seem low risk, encouraging even more targeting of seniors.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack some specific examples of these scams, and I think you'll see how cleverly they're designed to take advantage of human nature.
Yeah, the grandparent scam is a classic example. Preys on the deep love and concern that grandparents have for their grandchildren.
It sends chills down my spine
Yeah.
just thinking about it. The scammer calls, pretends to be the grandchild, maybe even using a voice that slightly resembles theirs, and starts with something like, "Hi, Grandma, it's me. Do you know who this is?"
And of course, the grandparent wanting to be involved and loving will naturally try to guess which grandchild it is.
Right.
Boom, instant connection and trust is established.
Heartbreaking, and then comes the sob story.
Of course.
"Grandma, I'm in trouble. I need money urgently.
Yeah, could be anything.
Bail money to car trouble, sudden medical emergency."
Preying on that urgency, that deep-seated desire to help a loved one in need.
Right.
And tragically, it works all too often.
Do you recall that case a few years back where scammers impersonated police officers,
Oh, yeah.
calling frantic grandparents and claiming their grandchild was in jail and needed bail money immediately?
Wow.
They even used voice mimicking software
Oh, wow.
to make it sound like the actual grandchild on the phone.
That's a chilling example of how sophisticated these scams are becoming.
Speaking of sophisticated, impersonation scams in general can be incredibly convincing.
Yeah, we're talking about scammers posing as authority figures, government officials, bank staff, even law enforcement,
Yeah.
using fear and intimidation to manipulate their victims.
Imagine getting a call from someone claiming to be from the IRS,
Oh, yeah.
saying you owe back taxes and if you don't pay immediately, you'll be arrested.
Terrifying, right?
And these scams aren't limited to phone calls.
Right.
Think about those official-looking emails we've all seen, complete with logos
Right.
and urgent language demanding immediate action.
You know, I was just thinking about that.
It's easy to see how people can fall for these.
It really is.
Yeah, that's
Especially for someone who might not be as familiar with how these institutions actually operate.
Now let's shift gears to a different emotion that scammers exploit: excitement.
Okay.
We're talking sweepstakes and lottery scams.
Yes, the classic "you've won $1 million" scheme.
Oh, yeah.
That feeling of sudden fortune is hard to resist.
Even if you know it's probably too good to be true.
Even if you know,
Right.
the scammer will claim you need to pay a processing fee or taxes up front to claim your winnings. That's the catch.
There's always a catch.
To get your money, you never see that prize.
It's like dangling a carrot in front of someone and then snatching it away at the last second.
It is.
Infuriating.
Then there's the computer tech support scam, which
Mhm.
preys on that lack of tech expertise we discussed earlier.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
You get a pop-up on your computer,
Uh-huh.
flashing red, warning of a virus or system failure.
Of course, there's a handy phone number to call for help.
But what seems like a lifeline is actually the start of the scam.
Right.
Exactly. You call, they talk you through some fake diagnostics, and then demand payment to fix a problem they just invented.
Oh, wow.
They might even convince you to give them remote access to your computer, which gives them access to all sorts of personal information.
A real nightmare scenario.
It is.
It's like inviting a burglar into your home and giving them the keys to your safe.
And sadly, we can't forget about romance scams, which are especially heartbreaking.
Yeah, those are rough.
These scammers create fake profiles on dating sites or social media, specifically targeting older adults who might be feeling lonely or isolated.
Right.
They build a connection, gain trust, and then start asking for money.
The requests might start small, maybe for a medical emergency or travel expenses to finally meet.
Yeah, but as the connection deepens, the scammer will take advantage of that emotional vulnerability to make larger requests.
It's devastating because they're playing on those deep human desires for companionship and love, and often the emotional investment can make victims reluctant to report the scam, fearing judgment or embarrassment.
It's crucial to remember that these scammers are master manipulators.
Right.
They understand human psychology, and they know how to exploit our vulnerabilities.
All right, so we've explored the why and the how of these scams, but now let's shift gears and talk about how to spot them in the wild.
Yes.
Because knowledge is truly the first line of defense.
Absolutely. There are some key red flags that should make you stop and think twice before you click, believe, or send any money.
Let's dive into those red flags. What are some telltale signs that should make our listeners' spidey senses tingle?
I love that, spidey senses. That's great.
Right.
So let's talk about it.
We just dove into some pretty unsettling examples of scams targeting seniors, and I have to say, it's made me even more aware of how important it is to be vigilant online. But it also makes me wonder, beyond individual caution, are there ways to make the internet itself a safer space? What can be done on a larger scale to combat these scams?
That's a great question, and one that, I'm passionate about. While individual awareness is crucial, it's not the whole story. We need a multi-pronged approach involving tech companies, community organizations, families, and even financial institutions.
Okay, I like where this is going. Let's break that down. Let's start with technology companies. They build the platforms where these scams often take place. What kind of role should they play in prevention?
First and foremost, they need to invest in robust scam detection and prevention measures. Think sophisticated algorithms and systems that can identify and flag suspicious activity, like superpowered spam filters, but on a much larger scale.
So catching those scam messages before they even reach someone's inbox, that would be amazing.
Exactly. And going beyond that, multi-factor authentication across all platforms is a must. It adds an extra layer of security, making it harder for scammers to access accounts, even if they manage to steal a password.
Let's say someone accidentally falls for a phishing attempt and gives up their password. With multi-factor authentication, the scammer still can't get in without that second factor, like a code sent to their phone, right?
Precisely. It's a simple but effective way to stop many account takeover attempts right in their tracks. But tech solutions are only part of the puzzle. We also need to empower individuals with knowledge.
You're right. Education and awareness campaigns seem crucial, especially when targeted at older adults. What should these campaigns focus on?
We need widespread, accessible education that specifically addresses the scams targeting seniors. It's not enough to simply list the types of scams. We need to go deeper and equip individuals with the skills to critically evaluate online information.
So instead of just saying, here's what a phishing email looks like, we need to teach people how to think critically about any email they receive, any website they visit, any offer that sounds too good to be true.
Exactly. It's about teaching them to question, to verify, and not to take things at face value. To not be afraid to ask, does this really make sense? This critical thinking is essential in navigating today's digital world.
And who's best positioned to deliver this kind of education? I'm thinking community organizations, senior centers, maybe even libraries, places where seniors already feel comfortable and connected.
You're spot on. These trusted community spaces are vital. They can offer workshops, provide one-on-one tech support, and create a safe space for seniors to ask questions and learn without feeling embarrassed or overwhelmed.
It's about creating a supportive learning environment where getting tech-savvy and learning online safety feels empowering, not intimidating. But what about the role of families and caregivers? How can they help protect their older loved ones without being overbearing?
It's a delicate balance, for sure. The key is open communication and collaboration, not taking over. Start by having conversations about online safety, sharing information about common scams, and offering to help with things like setting up strong passwords or reviewing suspicious emails.
So instead of saying you're not allowed to use the internet anymore, it's more about saying, hey, I read about this new scam going around. Let's look at your accounts together and make sure everything's secure. It's about being a partner, not a warden.
Exactly. Working together builds trust and shared understanding. And while we're on the topic of collaborative efforts, let's not forget about the importance of reporting scams. We touched on it earlier, but it's worth emphasizing.
It might feel like a hassle, especially if you haven't actually fallen victim to a scam, but I'm starting to understand that reporting, even attempted scams, is crucial.
It absolutely is. Reporting helps law enforcement track trends, identify perpetrators, and potentially prevent others from becoming victims. It's about turning a negative experience into something positive, contributing to a safer online community for everyone.
So where can people report these scams? Who should they contact?
The Federal Trade Commission has a website specifically for reporting fraud, and you can also contact your local police department. They're the first line of defense in these cases.
And if you're ever unsure about the legitimacy of something online, always reach out to a trusted source for advice, a family member, a friend, or even a community organization that specializes in senior support. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
I couldn't agree more. Now, we've talked about tech companies, community organizations, and families, but there's another important player in this fight: financial institutions.
That's right. They're often on the front lines of these scams, seeing the financial impact firsthand. What can they do to protect their older customers?
Financial institutions should prioritize training their staff to recognize and respond to potential scams. Tellers and customer service representatives should be equipped to spot red flags and intervene if they suspect an older adult is being targeted.
So if someone comes in to withdraw a large sum of money and seems confused or hesitant, the staff should be trained to ask questions and make sure it's not a result of a scam.
Precisely. Being proactive and looking out for vulnerable customers is key. But it shouldn't stop at staff training. Financial institutions should implement policies specifically designed to protect older customers.
What kind of policies are we talking about? Can you give some examples?
Think about requiring additional verification for large withdrawals or transfers, especially if they deviate from the customer's usual banking patterns. This adds an extra layer of security and helps ensure the transaction is legitimate and authorized by the customer, not coerced by a scammer.
It's like a safety net, catching potential fraud before it happens. Are there any other ways financial institutions can proactively protect their customers?
Absolutely. They can offer educational resources and workshops specifically for older customers. These could cover topics like online banking safety, recognizing scams, and protecting personal information. It's all about empowering their customers with the knowledge and tools to stay safe.
It's like the old saying goes, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Equipping seniors with the knowledge to protect themselves is a long-term solution. And honestly, it's just good business practice. A protected customer is a happy customer.
Couldn't agree more. And to really make a difference, financial institutions should partner with community organizations, senior centers, and law enforcement. Sharing information, coordinating prevention efforts, and supporting victims of scams through a collaborative network can have a powerful impact.
It's about creating a united front against these criminals. A community that's informed and empowered is a much tougher target for scammers. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I think it's important to address something we haven't touched on yet: the emotional impact of these scams on victims.
That's a crucial point. It's not just about the financial loss. It's about the emotional trauma that often runs deep here. Victims often experience feelings of shame, guilt, and betrayal.
It's a violation of trust on multiple levels. Trust in technology, trust in people, trust in their own judgment. It's no wonder these scams can have such a devastating impact on someone's well-being.
Absolutely. And that's why it's crucial to provide support and resources for victims. Not just financial assistance, but also emotional and psychological support.
I'm thinking counseling, support groups, access to legal aid. These resources can help victims process their experience, regain their confidence, and navigate the aftermath of a scam.
Exactly. It's about reminding them they're not alone. These scams are designed to deceive even the most cautious individuals, and there's no shame in seeking help.
It's about fostering a supportive environment where victims can heal and move forward. So as we move into the final part of our deep dive, what key messages do you hope our listener will take away from this conversation? What can they do, starting today, to protect themselves and their loved ones? We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, haven't we? From the psychology behind these scams to the tech tools being used to combat them, it's been quite a journey. But I think the most important question now is, what can our listener do starting today to make a difference?
Actionable steps are key. First and foremost, I encourage you to share what you've learned today. Talk to your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, neighbors, anyone you think might be vulnerable to these scams.
Think of it like a neighborhood watch, but for the online world. Spreading awareness about common tactics, red flags, and available resources can have a ripple effect.
Absolutely. And you can take it a step further by helping your loved ones implement those practical safety tips we discussed earlier. Walking them through, setting up strong passwords, enabling multi-factor authentication, and even just getting in the habit of carefully reviewing their bank statements.
Sometimes it's those simple actions, those everyday habits that can really make all the difference. And it goes beyond just the tech stuff, right? Staying connected with older loved ones can play a huge role in protection.
That's such an important point. Loneliness and isolation can, unfortunately, make people more susceptible to scams. Regularly checking in with older family members and friends, offering emotional support, and just being present in their lives can be incredibly protective.
It's about creating that sense of community, that safety net, where they know they have people they can trust and turn to for help,
Hmm,
that they're not alone in navigating this digital world.
exactly. Now let's zoom out for a moment and consider the bigger picture. This problem isn't going away anytime soon, so I'm curious, what do you envision for the future of online safety? What innovative solutions or strategies might emerge to combat these evolving scams?
Oh, I love thinking about the future. It feels like technology itself could be a huge part of the solution, not just the problem. We're already seeing advancements in artificial intelligence and machine learning that hold so much potential for scam detection and prevention.
Imagine AI-powered systems that can analyze patterns, flag suspicious activity in real time, and even intervene before a scam can fully take place, like a digital guardian angel looking out for vulnerable individuals.
That's incredible. And what about blockchain technology? Could that play a role in creating more secure and transparent financial transactions, making it harder for scammers to operate in the shadows?
It's certainly a possibility. Blockchain has the potential to revolutionize how we handle sensitive data and financial transactions online. But while tech advancements offer hope, we can't forget about the human element. We need a fundamental shift in societal attitudes and awareness to truly make a lasting impact.
You're so right. We need to create a culture where talking about scams is normalized, where seeking help is encouraged, and where victims are supported, not stigmatized. It's about breaking down those barriers of shame and silence that often prevent people from coming forward.
It's about fostering a sense of empathy and understanding, recognizing that anyone can fall victim to these sophisticated scams, and it's not a reflection of their intelligence or character.
We need to empower older adults to be active participants in their online safety, not just passive targets. That means providing accessible education, fostering digital literacy, and promoting a sense of agency and control over their online experiences.
It's about equipping them with the knowledge and skills to confidently navigate the digital world, to recognize threats, and to protect themselves.
So it's about moving from a place of fear and vulnerability to a place of knowledge, confidence, and resilience. It's about reclaiming that power and not letting these scammers win.
That's a powerful message. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key message you want our listener to carry with them? What's the most important takeaway from our conversation today?
Awareness is everything. The more we understand about these scams, how they operate, and the psychology behind them, the better prepared we are to protect ourselves and the people we care about.
And remember, you're not alone in this fight. We're all in this together. Share this information with your loved ones, support those who have been affected, and advocate for change. Together, we can create a safer and more secure online world for everyone.
If you're looking for more in-depth information and resources on protecting older adults from scams, I highly recommend visiting the National Initiative for the Care of the Elderly's website. They have a wealth of valuable information to help you stay informed and empowered.
Knowledge is power, and in the face of these ever-evolving scams, knowledge is our strongest defense.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and stay vigilant out there. I think